I don't remember exactly if I promised the second part to my video on Life is Strange episode 1, but episodes 2 and 3 did come out, and 3 actually came out fairly recently from the date I'm uploading this video, and I feel like they still deserve their own videos since they do happen to address some of the complaints I had in the previous piece. So welcome to my review on Life is Strange episode 2. I feel my biggest complaint about the first episode was the underutilization of the rewind mechanic. However, like I did say in that video, it was justified simply by that being the first episode where everything was being introduced. But either way, it still felt really underwhelming. I mean, sure, there were a couple times where it had its uses, like that bit where you had to spill paint on that group of rude popular girls to get them off the steps leading to the dorms, or in bits of the story where you get to rewind to potentially change your choices. And that was cool, but it still felt really empty. But episode 2 came along and it provided a lot more activities involving the rewind mechanics, like the diner towards the start of the episode and the junkyard shooty bit towards the middle end bits. And though I did like the fact that there's more utilization of the rewind mechanic, I still have complaints because I am a reviewer and it's my job to have complaints, even when things go my way. Even though there's more use of the rewind mechanics, I still don't feel like it's used to its full potential. The two instances I mentioned earlier in the diner and the junkyard remind me that it's still a video game and not just a visual narrative, with the memory quiz and the fetch quest respectively, and that takes away from the flow of the story in a kind of annoying way. However, not that long and not for much, even though it's still an annoying fetch quest. As you're exploring the junkyard, that was apparently Chloe and Rachel Amber's favorite hangout spot, you get to explore, get a little bit more room to explore, and you get to learn a little bit more about Rachel and Chloe's relationship, which helps give a better understanding of the story in a way that I totally forgot to mention in the last video because I'm bad. Oh, and before I forget again, episode 2 helps give a slightly better understanding of the story overall. It gives a lot of hints that perhaps the story isn't entirely revolved around Max, but more so the missing girl Rachel Amber, who was Chloe's new best friend that went missing, who I also forgot to cover in the last video because it didn't seem too important to me back then. It becomes apparent that something really spooky has happened to her, and it seems the rest of the game will focus on finding her whereabouts, as well as possibly adjust the big tornado from episode 1. This episode also gradually introduces limitations on Max's rewind power. Red splotches appear on the screen and she becomes visibly and visually pained from it. She even gets nosebleeds and passes out a couple times after using it, which gives indication that it does physically hurt her each time she uses it, as well as numerous mention of it possibly not being infinite, as well as some ominous mention of it potentially being dangerous, although we kind of knew that the ability to rewind time could potentially be dangerous. The tone is a bit confusing this episode, considering the gamey bits did kind of ruin the flow of the story, like I said before, but hey, what do you expect from a video game, right? Bits where you have to play it? Psh, come on, not in 2015. And a lot of the dialogue is just bad. Characters display a bit of bipolar disorder in certain bits of conversation, switching from a positive tone to a very negative one and back again without cause, and despite however you choose to respond to them. It's very frustrating and makes it feel like my choices don't matter, despite the little message each time you load up the game. Despite the dialogue issues, this installment was really good because it brought on new choices that finally have some kind of meaning. It also reached new emotional heights that make it one of my new favorite story-driven games to date. One of my bigger complaints with the dialogue, however, is it feels very forced and misplaced. There are certain bits in the game where it just sounds like a bunch of foreigners got together and decided to write a story from the perspective of an American teenager without knowing how American youth talks, and it's just a bunch of weird references and phrases that feel very forced and misplaced and kind of uncomfortable. I think I outlined it in the first video. That's not a very big deal, though. I suppose it's okay. And on to the more nitty gritty bit, the video and audio is on par with the last video. Still give it 10 out of 10. I love it. Best soundtrack, best voice acting. It's all good. I like it. So yeah, that's that. Thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to check out some of the other content on SteamFirst.com for the best news, reviews, videos, and content relevant to all things Valve and Steam. Also, be sure to check out our t-shirt shop, Battle Buddy Apparel, as well as my live stream and stuff, because I'm allowed to say that. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.